Have you ever looked around your life and whispered, "Is this all there is?" Have you ever felt alive on the outside but quietly imprisoned inside? You smile for the world, but your soul keeps pacing the same four walls, begging for air that no one else seems to need. You've done everything they said would make you happy. You worked hard. You built stability. You raised others. You kept the peace. But somewhere deep down, something still aches. You wake up, and it's as if your heart sighs before your mouth can even speak. And you think, "Lord, what's wrong with me?" Listen to me, beloved. There is nothing wrong with you. You are not broken. You are not behind. You are not crazy. You are called. What you're feeling is not depression, it's divine discontent. Your soul is remembering its assignment. And tonight, heaven is whispering, "Enough. The cage is gone." Chosen one, the cage wasn't unlocked. It vaporized. Heaven did that. The job, the routine, the walls you built for safety, God just turned them into mist. The door you kept rattling, it doesn't exist anymore. You are standing in open air. This is not a coincidence. It's a summons. You have reached the part of your story where staying small is more dangerous than stepping out. Where comfort is no longer comfort, it's captivity. You've outgrown your cage. And now heaven is saying, "Move." When the sun sets you free, you are free indeed. You were never meant to settle into predictability. You were designed for pilgrimage. Your new assignment is not survival, it's circulation. You are the blood flow of heaven moving through this earth. And before we pray, I'm going to reveal the one test that confirms whether this calling is yours, the unmistakable signal that your divine deployment has already begun. That moment comes in the next 12 minutes. Don't miss it. If this already stirs something inside you, if you feel that subtle hum in your chest, that ancient pull that says, "It's time," type "Amen, I'm ready to move with heaven." Because your breakthrough detail is coming, and when it hits, it will be undeniable. And before we go any further, I just want to say thank you to every single one of you who supported this ministry through your prayers, your presence, and your generosity. When you sow into this word through a super thanks, a share, a prayer, you're not just giving money, you're planting light. You're helping this message reach someone tonight who feels too old, too forgotten, too afraid to dream again. Whether you give or not, your presence here matters more than you know. Because this moment right now is sacred. And together, we're breaking cages. So take a breath. Place your hand over your heart and whisper with me, "Lord, I'm ready to move with you." Of calm, God's chosen one. Prepare for a life where your only purpose is to travel the world. What if the restlessness you've been feeling isn't rebellion, but revelation? What if the ache that won't quiet, even after all the prayers and pills, is not punishment but permission? And what if, after all these years of service and sacrifice, God isn't telling you to retire, but to relocate your faith? Take a breath, chosen one. Let that sink in. You thought this urge to move, to travel, to go where your feet have never been, was escape. You thought it was selfish, reckless, irresponsible. But heaven calls it something else. Heaven calls it assignment. The world might say, "You're too old to start over." But God says, "I'm just getting started with you." He didn't build you for boredom. He built you for breakthrough. This longing that's been growing louder is not wanderlust, it's holy unrest. It's the sound of destiny knocking against the walls of your old comfort zone. Remember Abraham? He was 75 when God said, "Go." Moses was 80 when he carried freedom through a desert. Sarah laughed at the idea of birthing promise, but she did. Anna was 84 when she saw the Messiah's face. Caleb, at 85, said, "Give me this mountain." Age is not a disqualifier, it's the credential of endurance. The world calls it aging, heaven calls it seasoning. So why does your heart beat faster when you think of the open road? Why do tears come when you watch planes rise into clouds? Because your soul knows something your body's still learning. You were never meant to stay where fear feels safe. This isn't about vacations or sightseeing. This is about divine circulation, the movement of light through flesh and faith. You're not a tourist. You're a courier. Everywhere your feet tread, hope gets delivered where mail has stopped. That's why you can't ignore it anymore. That's why the same routine suddenly feels like a cage dressed as security. Because God doesn't tweak stories. He rewrites them. And right now, He's rewriting yours. Pause here. Feel that pull? That's heaven rearranging your coordinates. Some of you have spent years serving others until your dreams became background noise. You've held everyone else's world together while your own heart quietly crumbled. You've been the strong one, the steady one, the giver. But now, listen closely. Heaven is saying, your strength has served its season. Now your faith must move. It's time to trade guilt for glory. You are not running away. You're running toward your next revelation. Every no that once broke you was just direction. Every delay that embarrassed you was divine protection. Every unanswered prayer was God waiting until you could carry this kind of freedom. And maybe this is the most shocking truth of all. The world doesn't need another preacher behind a pulpit. It needs you in motion, on the road, in the airport, at the cafe, carrying peace like perfume, leaving the scent of heaven everywhere you go. You, dear one, are the sermon now. The message isn't on paper, it's in your posture, your eyes, your resilience. The road itself is the altar, and every stranger you meet is a congregation waiting for hope. This is not escape, it's deployment. The cage is gone, the wind is rising, the mission is in motion. You are not lost, you are being launched. So, chosen one, are you ready to go where purpose has been waiting? If your heart just whispered, yes, then say it out loud. I'm not running, I'm reassigned. Type it in the comments. Declare it with your breath. Because the next door will not open with a key. It will open when you move. Now listen carefully. Because the next chapter isn't about where you go, it's about what goes with you. And in a moment, we'll talk about the anchors you must lift before you can sail. Why me? Why now? You whisper it under your breath, afraid even God might hear the tremor in your voice. You've carried others your whole life. Family, friends, a community that leaned on you like a pillar. And now, when the house feels quieter and your bones ache louder, heaven dares to say go. You stare at the sky and ask, Lord, at this age, with these knees, on this budget, who needs me now? Chosen one, heaven does. You see, this ache you feel isn't weakness, it's signal. That restlessness in your spirit, that tug that keeps you awake at 3 a.m., it isn't confusion, it's calling. You've outgrown the chapter you were never meant to die in. But I know what you're thinking. I tried changing once. It blew up in my face. I trusted before, and all it brought me was loss. No, I've done enough. I'm tired. And yet here you are still breathing. You're still here because your mission didn't expire when your comfort did. Listen closely, dear one. The devil can't take your calling, but he'll try to age it out of you. He'll whisper that your strength is gone, your purpose outdated, your time over. But the truth is, God never uses the young because they're strong. He uses the willing because they'll move. Remember, Moses called at 80, Sarah laughed at 70, and still held her miracle. Anna widowed, yet she worshipped until the Messiah came. If they had retired their faith, heaven's history would have looked different. So what makes you think your story's done? Jesus didn't say, "Come to me, all who are productive." He said, "Come to me, all who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest." Not rest to quit, rest to refuel, rest as fuel, not reward. Right now, your exhaustion isn't the end of your usefulness. It's the moment before your reactivation. You see, God isn't asking you to leap. Psalm 37:23 says the steps of a good person are ordered by the Lord, not the leaps, not the sprints, the steps. One faithful step is obedience. One small yes can move a lifetime of destiny. But fear has a clever voice, doesn't it? What if I run out of money? What if nobody goes with me? What if I fail again? Then hear this. Provision follows obedience, not the other way around. The manna never fell before Israel walked. It fell while they walked. God funds what he orders, not what you fear. And in a few minutes, I'll give you a 2-word prayer that keeps provision flowing wherever he sends you. But before that, pause. Ask yourself this. What's the cost of staying where you are? Because the truth is, staying small is the most expensive decision of all. Every day you choose fear over faith, you lose a piece of your song. Every time you say, maybe next year, you postpone the very healing your obedience was designed to bring. Chosen one, heaven is not waiting for perfection, it's waiting for motion. You think you're too old? The call is older than you. You think you've missed your moment? The author of time just turned the page. God's whisper is not asking for your energy. It's asking for your agreement. This isn't the end of your usefulness. This is the unveiling of your assignment. You've spent decades building homes for others now. He's inviting you to walk the world as his home. And so, I ask you, what's heavier, your fear of leaving, or the weight of knowing you were meant for more? Because somewhere inside you, you already know. The cage was never locked. It was comfort disguised as safety. And now the lock has melted away. Take a breath. Let your heart answer before your logic interrupts. If you feel that pulse in your spirit, don't silence it. It's heaven saying, move. Your steps are already ordered. Your name is already called. So the question is no longer, why me? The question now is, if not you, then who? And that, beloved, is where the journey truly begins. Do you feel it, chosen one? That quiet ache in your chest that doesn't go away no matter how much you pray for peace. That restlessness that wakes you in the middle of the night and whispers, something's missing, something's shifting. You've tried to silence it, changed jobs, redecorated the house, volunteered at church, scrolled through endless feeds, but the hum keeps returning, louder each time. And somewhere deep inside, you've started to wonder, maybe I'm broken, maybe I've missed my purpose. No, beloved, you're not broken, you're being reprogrammed. That restlessness wasn't malfunction, it was revelation. The system of your life was never failing. God was updating it. You thought you were stuck, but heaven was saving you from premature exposure. You thought you were forgotten, but you were being fortified. You thought your silence meant punishment, but Ecclesiastes 8:6 says, for there is a time and a way for everything. That delay you called disappointment was actually divine preservation. You see, there's a difference between being left behind and being held back by God. Some of you were benched not because you failed, but because you're the star player in the fourth quarter. You were benched for timing, not for shame. You weren't punished, you were positioned. Pause. Breathe that in. Now say it again with me slowly. You weren't benched. You were benched like a star player in the fourth, rested for the moment the game breaks open. Every detour, every delay, every door that slammed shut while you cried out, "Why, Lord?" He heard you, but he knew what you didn't. The field wasn't ready for your fire. The crowd wasn't ready for your voice. The world wasn't prepared for the weight you now carry. Look around. You've been feeling like a stranger in your own routine, haven't you? You go through the motions, but your spirit knows something's off. You were made for movement, not maintenance. Your calling won't fit inside the schedule that once defined you. Think about it. Moses didn't get called at 20. He got called at 80, after 40 years of obscurity. Anna, the prophetess, spent decades praying in silence before her voice became the hinge of revelation in the temple. Joseph sat in prison long after his gift was recognized. Why? Because revelation without refinement is dangerous. God hid you to protect the promise inside you. He hid you from rooms too small for your calling, from people who would have used your light before you understood its power. And now the signal has changed. The lights just turned green. This is your deployment order. Heaven is saying, rise, move, it's time. You're being reassigned, not to escape, but to carry. Your presence is needed where hope has gone missing. Somebody out there has been praying for a sign that God hasn't forgotten them. Guess what? You are that sign. You are the answered prayer walking into their city. You are the proof that God still moves through ordinary people with extraordinary faith. Chosen one. This is not theory anymore. This is your activation moment. The same restlessness that once felt like torment is now your compass. It's not telling you to quit, it's telling you to go. Not to chase comfort, but to chase obedience. Because when obedience moves, heaven follows. So, before you doubt it again, stop. Place your hand over your heart. If what I'm saying stirs something ancient inside you, breathe in deeply and whisper, I say yes. Then drop yes in the chat as your declaration to heaven. Because your deployment is not coming, it's already begun. Everywhere you go, divine timing will meet divine alignment. Doors will swing open because you finally said yes to the movement. And as you step out, remember this. The same God who called you out of the cage is the one flying the route ahead of you. You don't need to understand every stop, just trust the coordinates. Now, chosen one, I need to ask you something that will shake you before it frees you. If God has already opened the sky, why are you still holding the bars? Let that question take root, because in the next moment, we're going to lift the anchors that have kept your soul from sailing. Do you know what truly keeps most of God's chosen ones from moving? It's not age. It's not money. It's anchors. Anchors buried so deep in the soul that you've mistaken them for personality traits. You've called them being loyal, being responsible, just doing my duty. But the truth is, some of those loyalties were never holy. They were silent chains disguised as faithfulness. How many times have you stayed in a place long after your spirit whispered, it's time to go? How many nights have you carried guilt for wanting more when heaven was the one planting that desire in you? And yet you stayed. You stayed because leaving felt like betrayal. You stayed because you were afraid they'd call you selfish. But hear me, chosen one. Some of the people you've been loyal to were never your assignment. They were your classroom. And class is over. God is not calling you to abandon love. He's calling you to stop worshipping guilt. Jesus said, let the dead bury their dead. He wasn't being cruel, he was being clear. There are moments when staying loyal to the past becomes rebellion against the future. Take a breath. Hand over your heart. Whisper, Lord, show me one anchor. Just one. Now wait. 10 seconds of holy silence. Do you feel that tightness in your chest? That's not fear, it's recognition. For some of you, the first anchor is silent loyalty to people who prefer the old version of you, the one who never said no, the one who always made them comfortable. But the cost of keeping everyone else comfortable is losing the fire that once made you alive. If you keep dimming your light so no one else squints, you'll never see what God prepared in full brightness. For others, your anchor is the old uniform, the role you've worn for decades. I'm the helper. I'm the provider. I'm the reliable one. But what if God is calling you out of the role and into the revelation? Abraham was called father of nations long before he ever held a child. Moses was called deliverer while still running from Egypt. Titles change. Callings evolve. You are not your resume. You are revelation in motion. And for some, the heaviest anchor is the memory of failure. Every door that shut, every risk that cost you, every time you tried to move and it backfired. Now your mind whispers, "Don't try again, you're too old, you missed your moment." But who told you that? Not God. Because the word says, "Though he fall, he shall not be utterly cast down, for the Lord upholds him with his hand." Every fall was a rehearsal for stability. Every delay was calibration, not punishment. Listen, this is where the shift happens. When your yes is clean, God moves machinery you can't see. Opportunities you didn't apply for start calling your name. Connections appear out of thin air. Peace rushes in where panic used to live. Because heaven doesn't respond to hesitation, it responds to permission. You've been saying, "Lord, use me," while gripping the very chains that keep you grounded. Tonight, you release them. No ceremony, no approval. Just obedience. Anchor by anchor, loyalty by loyalty, label by label. You let go. God is rewriting your coordinates, and every time you say yes, invisible doors start swinging open. You can't drag those anchors into your next assignment. They weren't built for flight. So, chosen one, lift your head. This is not the end of who you were, it's the unveiling of who you've always been. The guilt will fade. The fear will lose its voice. The winds are shifting. And when that first lightness hits your chest, when you feel something loosen that you can't explain, that's your confirmation. Type "anchor up" in the comments if you felt even one strand break tonight. Because what's coming next will require both your hands free. Are you ready for what's about to move toward you? Have you ever asked yourself why the blessings never seem to match the bills? Why every time you finally feel ready to move, something in your bank account says, "Not yet"? Why doors open in your spirit, but not in your budget? Listen closely, chosen one. This isn't punishment, it's training. You've been living under the world's economy too long. You were told money is the master currency, but in the kingdom, faith is the economy. The old system taught you to hustle, to grind, to earn, but heaven's system says, "Seek first the kingdom of God, and all these things will be added to you." Not earned, added. What if I told you heaven never runs on shortage? What if the struggle you've been calling lack is actually God's way of recalibrating your dependence? You've been taught to measure provision in dollars and cents, but heaven measures in obedience and alignment. That's why sometimes your wallet feels empty, but your spirit feels full. Because heaven is funding your assignment, not your anxiety. The world says, "Save up and go." God says, "Step out and see." When Abraham left everything familiar, there wasn't a budget meeting in sight. When Elijah stood before the widow of Zarephath, the oil didn't multiply until it was poured. And when Peter threw his net into an empty sea, he didn't wait for proof, he moved on a word. So hear me now. Your provision doesn't show up in bulk, it shows up in precision. My God shall supply all your needs according to his riches in glory. That's Philippians 4:19. Not some, not most, but all. Yet not one drop more than required for the next faithful step. Because this is not excess, it's exactness. Heaven doesn't waste miracles on storage. Let me ask you something hard. How many blessings have you missed because you were waiting for the whole map instead of obeying the next mile? How many times did you pray for provision while holding back your movement? You don't need the full itinerary. You just need the nudge. The steps of a good man are ordered, not explained. You say, "But what if I go and the money runs out?" Then you'll finally see who's been carrying you all along. Every divine traveler learns the same truth. Provision follows movement, not the other way around. God funds his own ideas. When you walk in your assignment, Heaven activates its logistics team, people, places, and timing, working behind the curtain of your obedience. And the signs? They won't come as lightning bolts. They'll come as resonance, a phrase that repeats, a city that keeps appearing, a conversation that stirs something deep inside. You'll recognize it not by resume, but by recognition. It's not coincidence, it's coordination. Synchronicity is heaven's secret handshake. When something shows up 3 times, pause and pray. That's not random. That's recruitment. The Spirit is saying, go there. I've already prepared the room. Listen to me, beloved. You don't need to chase what you need. When your purpose is pure, what you need will find you. Stop calculating, start aligning. You're not running out, you're being refined. You are stepping out of the economy of fear and into the flow of faith. The more you trust, the more precise it becomes. In 5 minutes, I'll give you the 3 city signals, the unmistakable ways God confirms where He's sending your feet next. Stay with me, because when you learn to read these signs, your entire rhythm of living will shift. And if you've already been seeing them, those repeated words, those random confirmations, drop one word you keep noticing in the comments. That one word might be your next destination. This is not superstition. This is spiritual law. You are not a beggar hoping for breadcrumbs. You are heaven's courier carrying gold in invisible form. So stop waiting for the account to rise. Rise and watch the account follow. Because the currency of the kingdom is not cash, it's connection. And when your soul aligns with your assignment, provision will flow like a river that never runs dry. The world told you healing comes when you stop moving, when you sit still, meditate, isolate, and let time do its quiet work. But what if that's only half the truth? What if the very motion you've been afraid to make is the medicine your soul has been crying out for? Chosen one, listen closely. Healing doesn't always happen in stillness. Sometimes it happens in motion. Sometimes the cure isn't found in silence, but in footsteps. You've tried to fix your life in the same rooms that broke you. You've prayed in the same chair where you lost your joy. You've asked for new beginnings while still staring at the same 4 walls that remind you of endings. And now heaven is saying, move. You're not running from your life. You're walking into it. This next chapter is not escape. It's exposure to air your spirit hasn't breathed in years. Have you noticed that when you travel, something inside you wakes up? The world feels bigger again. You start seeing beauty in small things. That's not just nostalgia, it's divine circulation. Every step, every mile, every new horizon is oxygen to a tired soul. The mountains will teach you steadfastness. They stand firm, unmoved by seasons. They'll remind you that your faith doesn't have to shake just because your circumstances do. Stand there long enough, and you'll hear the same whisper Moses heard. Take off your shoes, for this is holy ground. The oceans will reset your rhythm. Watch their waves long enough, and you'll feel your pulse slow to heaven's pace. You'll remember that life flows in tides, rising, falling, returning. The sea will teach you to release control, to let God carry what you keep trying to command. And the cities, the cities will retrain your reflexes. Their chaos will force you to trust instead of control. You'll get lost, and somehow you'll still end up exactly where you were supposed to be. Because the Spirit doesn't need your GPS, He is your guide. You are not a tourist, you are spiritual acupuncture. Where you walk, grids of hope light up. Every step you take deposits faith in places that have forgotten it. When your feet touch the ground, heaven leaves a fingerprint. But here's the part no one told you. Travel isn't your reward after purpose, it is the recovery of purpose. You thought you had to heal before you moved. God says you'll heal as you move. You thought purpose came after pain. God says purpose is the pain transformed in motion. You're not chasing peace anymore, you're carrying it. Say it out loud. I carry peace, not panic. Because everywhere you go, the atmosphere will shift. When you sit in a cafe, light will rest there. When you walk through an airport, anxiety will ease. When you stand in a hospital, hope will rise. You are a mobile sanctuary. The presence of God travels inside you. So tell me, chosen one, how long will you keep waiting to feel ready? How many more mornings will you spend convincing yourself it's too late, too risky, too far? Abraham left without a map. Paul moved without a guarantee. Jesus healed on the road, not from a throne. Your journey is not about miles, it's about miracles. The places calling you are not coincidences, they're coordinates. Heaven has already highlighted. You've spent years tending everyone else's wounds. Now, God is sending you on a mission to remember your own wholeness. And in that remembrance, you'll heal not just yourself, but the world beneath your feet. Every airport is an altar. Every sunrise is a signal. Every journey is holy ground disguised as adventure. So take the next step. Don't wait for calm seas, walk toward them. Don't wait to feel qualified, answer the call. Because your movement is the medicine. And somewhere out there, the world is waiting for your arrival. Will you move? Or will you let your healing expire in the cage you've already outgrown? Turbulence and discernment, tests of the sent ones. Have you ever wondered why everything starts shaking the moment you finally say yes to God? Why the moment you step out in faith, storms rise from nowhere? You plan your next move, you pray for clarity, and suddenly your plans fall apart like sand through your fingers. You lose your peace, your patience, your certainty, and you ask, Lord, did I make a mistake? No, beloved, you didn't. You just took off. The shaking doesn't mean you're off course. It means you're airborne. When a plane lifts, that's when the turbulence begins. Not because it's falling, but because it's rising through resistance. The air is thinner, the pressure different, and the higher you go, the more friction you face. That's what's happening in your life right now. You're not being punished, you're being proven. Every chosen one must pass through what I call the holy turbulence. The tests of those who are sent. The first test comes wrapped in reason, fear, dressed as logic. It says, be smart, stay where it's safe. Maybe this isn't God, it's just emotion. That's not wisdom, that's anxiety in disguise. When Peter stepped out of the boat, logic screamed, you'll drown. But faith whispered, come, and the water obeyed his feet. You can't explain miracles while you're still sitting in comfort zones built on fear. Then comes the second test, people. Some will show up looking like helpers, but their kindness comes with strings. They'll offer shelter but demand control. They'll say, I'm just trying to protect you, but they'll start steering your direction. Not every open door leads to destiny, some lead back to dependency. You must protect your sovereignty, because your yes belongs to God, not to anyone else. Remember what Paul said in 2 Corinthians 6:14. Do not be unequally yoked, not just in faith, but in frequency. If their presence drains your peace, it's not partnership, it's interference. And then comes the third test, plans collapsing. You book a flight, it's cancelled. You chase an opportunity, it slips away. You call it failure, but heaven calls it rerouting. Proverbs 19:21 says, many are the plans in a man's heart, but it is the Lord's purpose that prevails. Sometimes a closed door is God saying, child, there's turbulence ahead on that route. I'm saving you from delay disguised as success. The secret weapon for every sent one is what I call the peace barometer. It's your inner navigation system. Simple, but powerful. If peace lifts, I step back. If peace rests, I step in. Isaiah 26:3 declares, you will keep in perfect peace those whose minds are steadfast because they trust in you. Peace is not a feeling, it's divine confirmation. Now listen, this is where the battle intensifies. The turbulence gets louder, your emotions flare. The enemy whispers, "You're off course." Heaven shouts, "You're closer than ever." Every storm that rises against you is proof you've left the ground. This is your aha moment. The shaking is not rejection, it's recognition. The enemy doesn't chase the grounded, he chases the rising. Chosen one. Stop interpreting pressure as punishment. Pressure is proof you're expanding. You prayed for new altitude, did you think the air would feel the same? So breathe. Don't fight the turbulence. Lean into it. It means the wind is carrying you somewhere you've never been before. Right now, lift your hand and say, "I will not partner with panic. I will partner with purpose." If this word speaks to your spirit, type, "I'm airborne." Declare it in faith. Share this with one friend who needs courage to stay in the air. Because turbulence doesn't mean you're falling. It means heaven is trusting you to fly higher. And when the shaking settles, and it will, you'll realize you didn't just survive the storm, you became the wind. Are you ready for what's next? You've been praying for direction, haven't you? You've begged heaven, "Lord, just tell me where to go. Show me what's next." And yet, nothing seems clear. No thunder, no voice, just silence. But what if the silence isn't absence, it's strategy? What if God's been answering you in a language you stopped noticing? Chosen one. Heaven doesn't always speak in thunder. Sometimes it speaks in repetition, in whispers, in divine déjà vu. You call it coincidence, but heaven calls it confirmation. Let me show you the 3 city signals, the way heaven reveals your next destination when your mind still doubts, but your spirit already knows. The first sign is the tri-echo. That city will start to follow you. You'll hear it in a song on the radio. Then someone will mention it in passing. Then it'll appear again on a license plate, a billboard, a dream. 3 times in 48 hours. That's not random. That's recognition. Heaven repeating itself until your fear can no longer pretend it didn't hear. Do you think it's a coincidence that Jonah couldn't run from Nineveh? Or that Abraham kept hearing, "Go"? No. When God has a destination for you, it echoes until obedience answers. So pause, pray. Don't brush it off as coincidence. Write it down. Whisper, "Lord, I'm listening." The second signal, the provision breadcrumb. God will drop a clue, a small, precise provision that ties to that city. Maybe a friend offers a couch there. Maybe you see a plane ticket drop to the exact amount you can afford. Maybe someone you haven't spoken to in years calls from that very place. It won't be extravagant, it will be exact. Because God funds what he authors. Philippians 4:19 says, "My God will supply all your need according to his riches in glory." Not your wants, your need, the proof that he's already written the script. You'll recognize it by how specific it feels. It won't make sense to your budget, but it will make peace to your spirit. The world calls it luck, but heaven calls it logistics. And then comes the final signal, the most subtle, the most sacred. Peace on consideration. When you picture yourself walking those streets, you don't feel panic. You feel relief. Your shoulders drop. Your breath slows. Your soul exhales like it's been holding its breath for years. That's the Spirit bearing witness. That's divine rest disguised as imagination. Isaiah 26:3 promises, "You will keep in perfect peace those whose minds are steadfast, because they trust in you." Peace is your compass. Anxiety is your warning light. Follow peace, not pressure. Where you feel stillness, that's your signal. Let's be honest, you've ignored these signs before, haven't you? You felt the nudge, then talked yourself out of it. You told yourself, "It's not logical. I'm too old. It's too late." End quote. But what if the delay has cost you years of miracles? What if the next chapter of your purpose has been waiting for you to move? What if you've been praying for clarity, but heaven's been waiting for courage? Because, here's the truth, beloved, obedience always precedes explanation. You won't understand it until you step. Faith doesn't wait for evidence, it creates it. And when you finally move, doors start opening like motion sensors under your feet. So now, pause. Think about it. Is there a city, a place, a name that's been haunting you lately? One that keeps coming back, no matter how much you try to ignore it. That's not nostalgia, that's navigation. If one city just lit up in your spirit, comment it right now. That confession is agreement. That's your yes to heaven, because when you name it, you claim it. You declare before both realms, I'm paying attention. And before we move forward, breathe this in. God doesn't just send you to cities. He sends you to souls. Every street you walk, every conversation you have, becomes a piece of someone else's answered prayer. You are not traveling to escape. You are traveling to awaken what's asleep. Don't overthink it. Don't wait for the perfect sign. You already have them. 3 signals, 3 confirmations, 1 mission. This is your moment to say yes, because the door isn't waiting for permission. It's waiting for presence. And the moment you step out, heaven will meet you on the road. So, what city is calling your name?